Eyelids, this seems a tough one to phrase into an obvious question, as no regrets is the easy answer when thinking about what you've done so far. But what I want to ask is, if you started your comedy career today with all the knowledge of your successes and failures, what would your comedy roadmap look like? Are there people or gigs that you'd avoid? Is there a gig you'd say no to that you have said yes to? Is there stuff you would have done differently? Did you burn material by doing Edinburgh too soon? I always love your comedy insights and hope you can give light to what you may have done differently and how that have changed where you are now. Cheers. That's from Dan Johnson. Dan, you've sent some fucking great questions. So if you could go back to the start, is that 2010? I sort of misquoted the timescale on that.
Sunday the 27th of June, 2010.
February the 8th, 2002. You always remember your comedy birthday, don't you?
I remember it as well because England were knocked out by Germany of the World Cup and Lampard scored a goal that was about 3 yards over the line, but they just allowed it.
A sad day, but a happy day. What would you have done differently? You can have a little... Charlie...
See, it's very hard to say I'd do anything differently because, you know, things have gone sort of okay. For someone a decade in, who...
Yeah, you've been on television several times and you've got one of the biggest podcasts in UK comedy.
Yeah, managed to do a few tours, you know, got to open for my absolute fucking... my goat, my comedy hero, if you, for lack of a better term.
You got one of your heroes to open for you?
I remember. Yeah, Freddie Quinn.
Upset me, not the bitch.
It's hard to say I'd do anything different. I tell you what I would do differently, probably. But then I struggle with questions like this because I'm a big sort of believer and like obsessed with like the butterfly effect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
like if I did this thing differently, then maybe all of those things wouldn't have happened. And I can't pull myself away from thinking like that.
No, it's a quite a sensible way of looking at it.
However, the story of my mum's death that I did in my debut Edinburgh show because I had the idea of you got to use that for your debut. It's a big story. Like you only get a chance to win Best Newcomer at the Edinburgh Festival once. I sort of thought that that's what I wanted. I think I would save that until I was a better, more skilled. I put it this way. I don't think the show I did in my debut year was very good. I think I could do that story very well now.
I think if you spoke to every comic in the UK that's been going a certain amount of time and done an Edinburgh show, I think one of the things they'd change is when they did their first Edinburgh show.
I wouldn't change that I did it then, but I wouldn't do that story.
I would.
Can you not use that story now?
I should have.
I could. I probably will.
It's a very good story.
Oh, you'd be able to use it. Yeah. I did mine in 2008 after 6 years. I wish I'd waited another 4 so much because it was just, I was doing, my stand-up was fine.
Did you say you did after 6 years?
It was all right. Yeah. Which is a normal time to do it. It's not, it was like I did a job, but I look back and I was just doing okay circuit comedy and the reviews and the general response was, yeah, it was okay. It's pretty good. It's all right.
Yeah.
If I'd have waited another 4 or 5 years with the show I took up in 2012, could have actually made some waves. But by then everyone's like, oh yeah, it's been around.
Yeah, if I'd
have started this early, that's what I'd done. I've had this thought several times recently. You can't, it's easy to do this, but imagine if I'd have got this kit together when I had expendable income. This is different for you because in 2010 you were starting out. In 2010, I earned really well from stand-up. Like, I was doing well. I was fucking around and drinking too much. I could have got some of this kit and should have started some of this. Back in the day when podcasting was like, there's 5 podcasts now. Like, Ed Gamble and Ray Peacock. Peacock and Gamble did fucking numbers.
Yeah.
There's just nothing else about.
Yeah.
I wish I'd got on that earlier. Imagine, I thought about this as well. How could we have done it earlier? Because we couldn't have worked together like we do now more than 2 years ago, I don't think.
No. I've thought about this quite a lot because it's very easy to go, fucking hell, why don't we start that sooner? But it just never would have worked the way it did. And the only reason this has been successful is because, like, we've worked our asses off for a full year now. This is our birthday episode, by the way.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, like our first birthday is the 10th of January.
Marry us. I think it's right, actually.
Yeah.
So a full year we've done this now. And we've worked our asses off. We've gambled at the right time by getting this place and bringing Carl in and then bringing Finn in, like to sort of get things rolling and get the clips out and whatever. But we've also got lucky, and we've mentioned this sort of privately, that it's sort of a bit sort of weird to say, but the pandemic has helped us a bit. Because when the lockdown hit and we went all in and we're like, we'll do it every day and we'll keep these people entertained, and it gave us this relationship with our listeners that I don't think we would have got otherwise. And the relationship between me and you being sort of friends, but not good friends yet, and now we're really close and whatever. That's all happened at a very, very specific, perfect time. And if we'd have tried to do this 3 or 4 years ago, this podcast wouldn't be the enormous pile of bullshit, brilliant bullshit that it is.
Also, it's about where you are in comedy as well.
Yeah.
If we'd have started this before you'd done the miles that you'd done, like if we say that we started in 2015, when I started my very first podcast, started in 2014. I did 83 episodes, and literally, we get the views, total views, that my first podcast got in the first 8 minutes of putting it on Patreon. And that's what, literally 330 views or downloads. We do that when we press publish. You'd have been a comic on the way up and like coming through the support ranks and everything. I was a headliner. That would have changed the relationship. You were younger.
Yeah, totally.
And we came into this as two headliners to the point where you were doing tours. You'd gone past me in the pecking order, but that wouldn't have been right either. That would have been it would have been me doing you a favor.
Yeah.
Which is what is happening on other podcasts. And I understand it. I'm not knocking it at all. But we've benefited from going, well,
no way.
It's like, yeah.
Coming as equals.
But I wish
This is ours.
I look back and go, fuck me, if you'd have just put some money into cameras and everything and worked this out.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah. It's a good question though, Dan, and I really like Dan Johnson is a Hall of Famer for the amount of stuff.
We get more questions from him
way.
than anyone. He sends even more in than even Harry does.
Yeah, it's superb, man.